The Kia Sorento got an upgrade for the 2024 model year. Kia gave it a little bit more aggressive styling than the previous generation. And one exciting thing is that the upgraded style is going to be carrying forward now to the 2025 hybrids for both the plug-in and the regular hybrid. This vehicle is available with a regular gas engine that's turbocharged, a regular hybrid, and then a plug-in hybrid. There are so many powertrains that are available. You'll find it front-wheel drive, all-wheel drive, along with interior seating for either 6 or for 7 people, depending on which trim level of the vehicle that you're in. Pricing for the Sorento in Canada is going to start at $41,700 versus $33,300 down in the States. There are some differences, though, outside of the exchange rate, like all-wheel drive being the only drivetrain option available in Canada. This is the Road Rider brown paint that you're going to find inside of the Sorento. And you've probably seen shades of this type of paint in cars and trucks everywhere. It seems to be the hot commodity. I'm not crazy about the color choice myself, because when you look at some of the black highlights, especially because this is the X Pro limited trim level of the vehicle, or the SX Prestige down in the States, I'd probably say something black where it's like fully blacked out, or white to really show off those highlights would really come into play. As I mentioned, you're going to find the Sorento available with either front wheel or all-wheel drive, depending on which trim level of the vehicle that you're in, whether you're in Canada or the States. And honestly, for the most part, you'll be okay with front-wheel drive, but having the all-wheel drive system is just so much nicer, especially if you live in northern states or in Canada like me, because we get snow 3 to 5 months out of the year, and having the extra traction and stability you get out of all-wheel drive is definitely the way to go. Having said that, front-wheel drive in the wintertime still does handle okay as long as you slap a good set of winter tires on the vehicle. And speaking of tires and wheels, you've got the option for either 17 up to 20 inch with varying styles. You've got this kind of like boxy cyberpunk-esque cutout inside of this trim level of the Sorento. It looks okay style-wise. I love that it's black, because I don't know what it is for me, just blacked out wheels look amazing. Purposely trying to go over some of the bigger bumps here as I see them, just to kind of get a better feel. But I mean, so far, so good. Here we go. Oh yeah. There you go, Sorento. Now, this is not the X Pro trim level. The X Pro trim is going to give you all-terrain tires. So it'll be a smaller tire, all-terrain. That would be the one that you should go for if you're planning on going more off-roading, or if it's going to be a cottage vehicle where you're going to encounter roads like this. Oh yeah, look at these bumps. Oh, some good ones here. I'm gonna slow it down a bit. Oh yeah. Sorento! Like a boss. Nicely done. The front end style of the Sorento reminds me of the Telluride, like hands down. You can see a lot of the style was borrowed from that vehicle. Because of the trim level that this Sorrento's in, you've got a glossy black highlight for the grille, and then the upper part of the bumper for the front end has a nice glossy highlight as well. There are LED headlamps inside of the ride, which do look pretty good at night, and then there are some fog lamps down there as well. There's a lot of technology that you're going to find inside of Kia vehicles. A lot of great highway safety driving technology. And front end wise, there's the option for the forward sensing system. On top of that, you'll find a front-facing camera. So that pairs nicely with the side-mounted cameras for a full 360 view. And I love the way that Kia does the 360 camera. Underneath the hood of the Sorento, it's a fairly heavy hood. But you've got this. It's the 2.5 liter turbocharged engine. And there are quite a few different powertrains that you're going to find inside of the Sorento. So there's a 1.6 liter hybrid, there's the 1.6 liter plug-in hybrid, 2.5 liter naturally aspirated, so non-turbocharged, and then there's the 2.5 liter turbocharged. And what that equates to power-wise in the turbocharged version is 281 horsepower and 311 pound-feet of torque. Oh, it's the most powerful option inside of the Sorento lineup. So if power is your thing, you're going to want to go this way. I want to make sure I'm in sport mode here. Gonna get back up to highway speed and also utilize the paddle shifters in 3, 2, and 100. I mean, all things considered, I would say that that is fairly solid pick up and go inside of this ride. If you're looking for the best possible performance inside of a Sorento, the 2.5 liter turbo is absolutely the way to go. If you want the best possible fuel economy, you're probably going to want to look at the plug-in hybrid. Because as I said, you do have the option for a traditional hybrid, which is going to give you better fuel economy, but the plug-in hybrid gives you a 14 kilowatt hour battery instead. So those electric miles are absolutely useful. Like 30 miles or 48 kilometers is pretty solid, and as long as you don't drive like a donkey, this car will have you covered. Now, if you look at the regular hybrid, that's just going to essentially give you better fuel economy. It's got a small 1 kilowatt hour battery. Like I said, the plug-in has a 14 kilowatt hour instead, which means that you're looking at the very most, like a level 1 charge, 14 hours. So I realistically don't think you need a level 2 at home. Unless you've got other electrics, just do a regular wall plug when you get in. 12 to 14 hours max to go from 0 to fully charged, which means that you could potentially be saving a great amount of fuel over the course of ownership for this ride. The warranty inside of the Kia world is pretty solid. In Canada, the basic and the powertrain are a 5-year, 100,000 kilometers. In the States, the basic is a 5-year, 60,000 mile, with the powertrain getting bumped up to an impressive 10-year, 100,000 mile instead. Then the EV hybrid components are going to be covered for 8 years, 100,000 mile, 160,000 kilometers. But you just want to make sure you take care of your ride. You can easily top up fluids, check your oil there as well. And in order to make sure you maintain the manufacturer's warranty, take it in for regular service, regularly scheduled maintenance. This car will treat you well. The rear end style of the Sorento, very Telluride-esque. The lamps in the back are going to be LEDs. There's the reverse park sensing system, the backup camera, and the rear wiper that's hidden right along the very top. You do have the flexibility to be able to tow inside of the Sorento. So at a minimum, you're just under 2,000 pounds. At a maximum in the X Pro trim level, up to 4,500 pounds. So the overall towing capacity is going to be based off of which engine that you're in. So the hybrid versus the gas, are you front wheel versus all-wheel drive? But up to 4,500 pounds is pretty impressive for a vehicle this size. And getting into the trunk of the vehicle can be done a few different ways. There's a button to the left-hand side of the steering wheel. You can utilize the key fob. On the very back here, there's also a button that you can push to open up. But one of my favorite pieces of Kia tech is the hands-free liftgate that's available. And unlike most manufacturers, where it's a foot activated, where you can swipe, it's not that way in the Kia world. And there's a benefit there, because if the sensors are covered in snow, this is still going to work. So you just need to make sure that the vehicle's locked. You get about 10 to 15 feet away for a few seconds, and as long as you've got the key fob on you, all you're going to do, walk up towards the back end, you could press the lock button to pause that, but I love that feature. Smart trunk. Now it is beeping at me right now because if I were to walk away, it would automatically close as well. But there's a button you can push along the top in order to turn off that auto close function. But that's pretty cool at the same time, because if it's up, you want to go and push your cart back, automatically going to close, which is kind of nice. And there's not much space in just the cargo area by itself. But before we get the measurements, there's a little tray that you can lift up, and that's going to give you access to the jack stand. So if you ever pop a tire, puncture a tire, you could technically change it out yourself. All of the pieces are there. But as a Kia owner, you also have access to roadside assistance. And that's good for 5 years, 60,000 miles, unlimited kilometers, which pretty cool. So you can call if you ever need a tire change, if you need fuel delivery, winching services, vehicle lockout, and a few other things. So very, very useful. Folding down the third row seats inside of the vehicle is going to be a manual process. There's a strap that you're going to pull, and that's going to Fold the seat down and pull and push. Oh, flat fold. Really, really useful. And when you have the seats folded down, you could then get easy access to the right side, which is going to show you a 12-volt power point, and then some buttons in order to power fold those second row seats. So you could fold the second row seats down inside of the second row, but if you're doing it from the cargo area, all you need to do is just push and hold the button there, and down that seat goes. So the second row doesn't give you a completely flat fold. It's pretty damn close at the same time. And the cargo measurements that you're looking at for the Sorento are going from right where the liftgate would close and then behind the first row. So it's just behind that armrest between the first row seats. So there's a pretty solid amount of depth there. But if the driver's passenger seat were forwards, backwards a little bit, you gain or lose a little bit of extra space. But the Sorento is very spacious overall. One thing about the second row seats, though, is that once the seats are down, they are actually locked down into place. So once the seat's down, you can't just lift it up. So in order to lift up the seat, the same lever that you would pull in order to fold the seat down if you're doing it from the second row, you're just going to crank that and lift, and up she goes. And then raising the third row seats is also straightforward. So the straps that you'd use in order to fold them down, you're just going to pull and lift the headrest. Same idea. On the passenger side, up, and up it goes. And it's that simple to do it. Filling up fuel inside of the Sorento is done just along the driver's side. And then one nice thing, when the car's locked, the fuel door is also locked. So you just have to make sure you're unlocked first in order to be able to get inside here. And it's a regular cap system. If you're worried about fuel theft, you could do an aftermarket one with a lock. But when you look at fuel quality, it doesn't matter if you're in the regular 2.5, the 2.5 liter turbo, or any of the hybrids. Regular 87 octane is all you need to use inside of either vehicle. Well, any engine. There is the argument of using higher octane fuel inside of turbocharged engines, but with these ones, 87, so just regular gas, is all you need to use. Now, if you're in the plug-in hybrid version of the Sorento, you're plugging in just along the passenger side there instead. Now, you're going to get better fuel economy inside of the plug-in hybrid, while even the regular hybrid compared to the regular 2.5 liter engine. It's a pretty substantial difference as well. But when you look at the regular hybrid, it improves your overall fuel economy, but there's no way that you can plug in. So as you drive, you'll just get better fuel economy. In the plug-in, you've got fully electric miles, so 30 miles or 48 kilometers of total electric range, as long as you're not driving like a donkey. So if you're driving nice and slow, you're going to be able to maximize your total range there, which is great. But if you're hammering the gas, you're going to use up more of those electric miles, and you're going to also kick in the gas engine instead. So if you want the best possible fuel economy inside of the Sorento, the plug-in hybrid's the way to go. But if you want the most possible power inside of the vehicle, you're going to want to go for the 2.5 liter turbo. But there are some pretty nice elements that you're going to find inside of this trim level. So glossy black highlights there, roof rack rails with the option for crossbars, and then there are some great carriers that are available if your plan is to go on some trips. And getting inside of the vehicle, straightforward. There's an assist handle on the driver passenger side for the first, and for the second row. But getting into the third row, a little bit trickier. I'll show you that one in just a second. I love that. Look at that. So the side view mirrors in the Sorento feature turn signals. Their power folding is an option. There's the blind spot monitoring system in there as well. And then you might also have a camera along the side there, and that's going to be for a full 360 view. On the outside, there's a button there that you can push to lock the doors, and you can slide your hand in order to unlock. This is the X-Line trim level in Canada, so X-Line Limited. It's going to be the same as the X-Line SX Prestige down in the States. But you've got a lot of neat highlights, like this wood green that follows all the way through at the dash. There are seat memory buttons available here, power fold your side view mirrors, window controls, and things like that. This one, if it's turned on, You won't be able to get out of the back seat, so you have to manually open up the doors. It also kills off power to the rear windows. There's an upgraded audio system inside this vehicle, and then you've got a little bit of door storage there as well. On the inside, you could adjust the brightness of the cluster screen and the infotainment, open and close the liftgate, toggle traction control on or off. The steering wheel is always going to be a manual adjust, and then these, just the regular carpeted mats that you're going to find inside the vehicle. So a little Sorento scuff plate there. And then the seats, so good. So there are a few different seating options that are available in the Sorento: cloth seats, vegan leather, leatherette, etc. But these ones have a few different options, including leg extenders. So if you needed to make it a little bit more comfortable for you, you could. Yeah, you can move the seat forwards, backwards, up and down, adjust the backrest. There's 4-way lumbar support as well. But that leg cushion is a nice touch. Ooh, that's cool, nice. Then start up is just push button start. There we go. Oh, it looks good. Now, once you have your seat set up the way that you'd like to, you also have the flexibility, like I said, for seat memory in some trims. But all you're going to do is, once you're set up, just going to hit set, and then either 1 or 2 for it to remember your own personal profile. So if there are multiple people driving, very, very useful. But the screen is nice. The steering wheel, nice and comfortable. It's heated as well. So there are 2 different heating levels there, and it's heated all the way around. Some versions of the Sorento have paddle shifters, but there's also a manual hand shifter as well. You can drop down in order to shift through the 8-speed automatic transmission inside of this version of the vehicle. But if you want to walk through on using paddle shifters or the hand shifter, check down in the description of the video. It's an incredible system once you actually get the hang of it. Inside of the Sorento, you've got the option obviously here for the digital cluster screen and then the 12.3-inch infotainment system. But this one has a curve to it. It's a nice curved screen. Some versions are just going to be a flat version instead, facing back, but still, the look there is good. And there's so many things. There's the option of either with factory navigation or without, but either way, you've got the option for wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto inside of the Sorento. If you want to walk through, like I said, of how to use the infotainment system, and even doing things like utilizing smart cruise control, check down in the description of this video for a walkthrough. But inside of the vehicle, as always with a number of Kia vehicles, you've got AM, FM, Sirius XM, Bluetooth audio, sounds of nature, USB music. So if you prefer, so it's nice like ambient noises instead, like a nice rainy day. You've got that available. And then USB music's available here as well. If you were hooked up over your phone, you could also listen to audio that way. There are 2 different speaker choices you're going to find inside of the Sorento. So it's a 6-speaker system standard in the lower trim levels, and then there's a 12-speaker system standard in the higher trims. And this one is the upgraded 12-speaker Bose system, which sounds so good. So good. The lower system is okay, but the 12-speaker is just a night and day difference in comparison. So I want you to listen to audio here. It's coming out of the USB stick here, and there's no post-processing done to this audio component. Nice. Let's listen to a little bit more like a rock rap type of a song instead. And here we go. So again, this is just coming out of the microphone here.
Live life in these times, it feels like nobody's right. Yeah. So figure out what else we succeed and then invest all of my time into that and proceed. I need whatever the hell can make me happy.
The audio inside of this version of the Sorento with the Bose system is so good. I have tweaked the sound settings a little bit, and this is the same thing that I recommend regardless of the car that you're in, is go into your tone settings and adjust the treble mid-range bass until you find something nice. In this car, for my ears, I find that treble down a little bit works well, and the bass cranked by 4 points is great. You could have your treble up a little bit. It's going to be a matter of preference. I find as the treble gets too high, it's a little bit tinny, but that's going to be a matter of personal preference. Yeah, like I said, there are so many different things inside of this vehicle. One cool thing about the Kia world is that with the buttons down here, so you've got your volume rocker, tuning rocker, and then basics for climate. But if you hit this little button, that switches you between hot button presses to get to different settings, or to your climate control settings instead. It's kind of neat the way that Kia's done this. I like it. Further down, you've got heated seats as an option, but also ventilated first row seats. So 3 individual levels for ventilated for the driver passenger side. There's a USB power point, so 2 USB Type-C. One interesting thing about the Type-C along the left side, so it can either be charging only or charging and data. So you could do backwards compatibility with Android Auto, Apple CarPlay if you wanted to, but you just have to make sure you're in data transfer to get the data off of the phone or the device that you've plugged in. There's a wireless charge pad here. One thing I don't like is that there's no option for a sunglasses holder anywhere. You could drop them there if you wanted to, but some sort of physical sunglasses holder I think would be kind of neat. I do really like that this is a hand shifter, and it feels fantastic in the hand as you go to adjust. But you've got your park reverse neutral drive into a manual mode this way to be able to shift gears out. It's good. Series of other options. So you've got a series of different drive modes that are available. Each one of these are going to play with different things like traction control, stability control, things like that, especially as you get to terrain modes. But the off-road handling in the vehicle is surprisingly nice. Sport mode is where you're going to be the majority of the time if you prefer sportier driving, but if you want the best possible economy on the highway, Eco is the way to go for sure. There's a heated steering wheel, auto hold, which is kind of neat because with that setting enabled, if you're in drive, take your foot off the brake, the car is not moving. So it's a good safety setting. There's brake control, the auto start stop system. The beeping that you get as you get closer to obstacles, you can toggle off. There's an electronic parking brake, and then this little guy. So at a minimum, you're going to have a backup camera inside of the Sorento, but there's also the option of utilizing it for front, rear. You could do side as well to see what's going on behind you, split side. And there's the 360 camera. So good. I honestly love the way that Kia's done this. Solid look. It's great. Little holders there. So you got some cup holders, a little bit of space. There's a removable tray inside of the armrest here. And then you've got that same wood grain that follows all the way through. If you're not crazy about this design, you could always just do a 3M wrap to customize it and make it more of your own. The glove box here is fully lockable. Nice amount of space there. You can see speakers along the dash, and the visibility here is great. Up overhead, there's the option for the auto-dimming rearview mirror here with home link. So if you've got a garage door opener at home, you could program it in. It's, like I said, auto-dimming. And then one cool thing is when you get into the X Pro trim, that's going to have a fully digital rear view. So it utilizes rear-mounted camera in order to show fully digital look up here. There's an SOS into tow mode, basic cabin control lights, which LEDs. It's like kind of nice. And then there's also the option for a panoramic roof. And this button is actually multi-use. So if you just do a light push, that's just going to open up the shade. But look at that. Just opens things up so nicely. You can push up from here in order to create a little cross breeze or a little breeze there, and then push away in order to open up. But the side profile on the outside there looks sharp. Got a little bug guard there. But I mean, that is solid. And I said that this is multi-function. So if you do a hard push and hold, it opens everything. It's the same thing for closing. So a hard push closes everything in tandem. You can pause it, open it back up, etc. But that's really good. Love it. From here, you've got a little visor, ticket receipt holder. There's a vanity mirror, and then the light over top. This extending out. Oh yeah, blocking all of the sun. That might be hitting your face. There's a holy crap handle along both the passenger and the driver's side here as well. But seats, like I said, super comfortable. You can easily reset there. But with the seat as far down as it's going to go, there is so much space inside of this ride. So I'm 6 feet tall. And with the car, so with the seat all the way down, what's that? 4.5, 5-ish inches of headspace. There's a boatload of space available inside of this ride, which is great. And there, just button press. In order to bring you back to your previously set up seat. But let's go and have a look. That second and third row. Ooh, that's good. All right, so inside here, you've got that same wood grain. There's the option for heated second row seats. If you've got the bench configuration, so the heated seats, but it's strictly going to be the outboard seats in any situation here. But you've got some cup holders, a little bit of storage there, so bottle holder down low, little Sorento badge there too. Then, ooh, hopping in. Oh, that's nice. Nice and comfy. One cool thing is that got a little door shade available for the second row, and that's the same on the driver and on the passenger side. So you can see the little tap there. And with the driver's seat set up for myself being 6 feet tall, inside of the second row, I've got a good amount of knee space and foot space. Up overhead, sitting fully upright, it's a little bit tight. I've got maybe an inch of head space. So your best bet, there's a lever there that you can use in order to fold the seat down, but you can also give yourself a bit of a recline. It's not a big recline, but it's enough to create more than enough space for people that are bigger than 6 feet tall. It's comfortable. And obviously you're screwing people over that are in the third row if you do this, but they can worry about it back there. But yeah, this is nice. So there are 2 different configuration options inside of the Sorento. So it's either 6 or 7 seats. So you're always going to have 2 seats in the front, 2 seats in the back, and then it's either this dual captain's chair setup or there's a full bench configuration instead. The dual captain's chair setup, in my opinion, I think is pretty nice. You hear that? So you can set the armrests at perfect height for you if you want to. Kind of nice. But yeah, it's nice and comfy. There are little pockets on the inside of the seats there. And then there are pockets behind both the driver and the passenger side here as well. And typical Kia styling, there's some USB power points built right into the seat. There's some vent controls there. And then moving down, you've also got a few power points. So there's a 12 volt and a regular wall outlet that's rated for up to 150 watts down there. But other than that, there's a little handle, hook, and light up overhead. It's the same on the driver passenger side, so handle, hook, and a little light. Then there's one benefit of having the dual captain's chair set up. You can easily pass through to that third row. Either way, doesn't matter which configuration option you've got here, you've got a few buttons. So there's one along the top, one along the bottom, and then there's this. So this is the one to fold the seat down, but you can also button push there in order to be able to hop into the third row. Ooh, easy to do. Now, here's the thing. The seats in the third row, a little bit on the cramped side. So I'm 6 feet tall, and like with me sitting fully upright, there's 0% chance that I'm fitting back here. My head is literally scraping along the top. So I'd have to kind of hunch a little bit in order to sit in the back, or kind of like shuffle back a little bit in order to make it work. It's okay though. Like the seats aren't overly comfortable by any stretch. They're doable, just not super comfortable. Yeah, but if you need them, there are tether points here. So the anchors are here, top tether points behind the seat if you want, and that's the same for the second row seats as well, even if you have the bench configuration. But with this seat, as far back as it's going to go, I can still sit back here, which is kind of nice. Along the back, you've got a 12 volt power point, a little cup holder, and that's the same along the passenger side, with the exception you've got the power folding seats for the second row, and the 12 volt power point back there as well. Just a speaker, then a little light control back there too. Getting out of the seat, straightforward, so you could hit the button there. If for whatever reason the button isn't working, like let's say if you're coming to lock yourself back here, you could also pull the strap down here in order to do it instead. But because this is the dual captain's chairs configuration, see the struggle. So it's not easy, but it's also not difficult to pass through to the second and third row, depending on where you are. But that's just one of the benefits of having this configuration. Handling is pretty good. Gonna do some on-ramp handling right now. Speed up, see how she goes. Here we go. I would say that that's pretty impressive. I mean, given it is a 2.5 liter turbocharged engine, so you'd really hope that it would be able to pick up speed like a little bit. And this definitely doesn't disappoint. What's that? So this one has the lane change assist, and it allows for full lane change. It's not hands-free, but what happens is the vehicle is going to check to see if you have your left turn signal on, right turn signal, whatever the case may be. It'll check the lane next to you, and then it'll start moving over automatically. It's kind of neat. A little bit weird the first time you use it, but it is pretty cool at the same time. While the ride itself is fairly comfortable, the seat is fairly comfortable here, there is a little bit of road noise. Like, it's not like there's a ton, it's not something that you couldn't live with, but I don't want to say it's loud in the cabin, because it's not, but you can hear road noise for sure. It's not the most quiet Kia that I've been in, especially because I was just in the Kia EV9, so the fully electric, and that was extremely quiet inside. The Sorento, not bad, but so it's a little bit of road noise, but you could drown that out using this upgraded Bose sound system instead. So the handling and the responsiveness inside of this ride is surprisingly good. And hold on, let's take a look at the turning radius here. Wow. Ooh, toyed. Okay, that was pretty good. Then back up to speed. Nice and quick. Yeah, it's a fairly solid drive, for sure. And that was a look at the Kia Sorento, the X-Line Limited in Canada, or the X-Line SX Prestige down in the States. You can find a build link for this specific Sorento down in the description, along with links off to all of the tech walkthrough videos. But if you found this video useful, give it a thumbs up, share it with someone if you think they might find it helpful. And until I see you next time, take care. So the Sorento, you'll find front wheel or all-wheel drive with a regular gas engine, a turbocharged gas. Underneath the hood of the Sorento, unfortunately, not on a prop bar, and that hood is fairly heavy. Unfortunately, it is on prop bar, you dummy. It's not on hydraulics. And that was a look at the Kia Sorento, X-Line Limited in Canada, or the X-Line Come on.